Okay, Thursday, 5th of January, bearish day. Let's have a quick recap. The markets closed lower between 1 and 1.5%. The SPY low on this ascending support, still holding support, but low nonetheless. For me, it was a sideways down day. Everything depends on tomorrow. Before we look at the others, look very quickly at the news we have tomorrow lined up. We've got quite a lot of stuff. Early in the morning, German retail sales. Then we'll have 11 o'clock, the consumer price index, Europe, harmonized index. So we've got some CPI, some basically index numbers, another retail sales, this European one. Then we have NFP, USA, that's a massive one. So, and then during market hours, we've also got ISM. So we've got massive five news sort of every couple of hours. It's just going to be lots of swings in the markets. Now, having said that, I don't care too much about news. I think there'll be some data that comes out, and then the headlines, the talking heads will then spin it. So today, for example, there was some good news, and therefore the market went down. And they say, oh well, good news, market down because it'll give the Fed the confidence to keep rates higher for longer. But had it been bad news and the market goes down, they would just say, well, yeah, that's normal. Bad news indicates a recession, etc. So for me, the news, now when you have five in a row and you've got the algorithms going crazy, you can get some swings that interfere with the natural chart, let's say. But I don't think that it'll change too much. I still think the direction is sideways down. I still think overall we go lower. The SPY, the Dow Jones also has a long way down to go. But I think what leads the way, and the Dow, by the way, look at this, it was quite a weak close. So I can see the Dow easily at 32,500. But it's really the Nasdaq. the Nasdaq for me is its second lowest support. It's the second last line of defense, close at low of day, below these last sort of wicks. I mean, it won't take much tomorrow to even venture to this low and break it. A close below, let's say 259, is almost like putting a fork in it. It's done. So let's see. I do think we will test. Yeah, I think we're gonna test the lows. It's hard to tell when you've got five massive news events. Data that obviously I have no idea what those results will be, but were there no news coming out, then I would just say we close below 259 and then almost immediately next week go to the lows, and that would take all the other markets down. The Russell you'd see also testing second last by then. So markets, watch out. Markets weak, markets lower. I still think we go lower. Now, yields, look at the 1 and the 2 year, especially, they had decent closes here. We're just one day away from testing the high. Let's see if we got market flushing and yields going up tomorrow, then it's pretty much guaranteed we're going much lower in the markets because the 1 year will make a new high and maybe even close above this sort of 4.84%. So watch out with the 1 year. The 2 year, even more important, that's the one the Fed watches along with the 10. It's the funds rates, really. It's where the Fed tries to or needs to get its interest rates to match. So watch out. We had a nice new close. We ventured higher than in a long time. So I think we'll test the 4.55 range. And then the rest, the story is not as up to date here. The 5 year hasn't tested its recent high. 10 year also got a bit more to go. But that's really 1 or 2 days away from testing this high and breaking out. And that's when the real trouble comes back into the yields market. So yeah, watch out with yields going up, at least for USA. Let's look at the dollar. The dollar was very interesting again. So we had this breakout on Tuesday out of this descending after a double bottom. Very nice. We retraced the next day, which is yesterday, which is Wednesday. We did close above the descending. I did think at the time, wow, we're retracing quite a lot, but it was good. We bounced again today off that descending and we just closed much higher. It's really dollar reversal. You can see it in the individual FXs. Look at Euro US dollar, that 107 double top, never made it past there. And here we are closing at new lows, basically guaranteeing a move down to 10. Well, I don't want to say that, but 103 most likely. Yeah, 103. The DXY, I can see that hitting 107 at least. So let's see. US dollar, Japanese yen, that closed above the descending. Very nice here. That fake loss of support and then closed above and now broke out of the descending. So that's nice. And then the pound, of course, also closing at new lows, looking like it's going to go back down to, well, let's see, maybe 115, 116. So dollar up, yields up, market down. This is the old pattern I really enjoy to trade alongside. What else have we got? We've got, for commodities, I'll stop by natural gas first. Now, yesterday I mentioned that was quite nice here at 4, but we went lower to the next level, in my opinion, to basically almost 3.5. And if you just zoom out for a while, I mean, yes, it hasn't been as cold, at least in Europe, for example. Okay, in some areas of the US it was, but basically the weather, obviously supply and demand, the energy crisis in Europe. For me, we lost ascending support. It was really technically perfect. Even the weekly chart, we lost it, we went down, and now you've got a nice buy support zone. If you zoom out, I mean, commodities as a whole, inflation, just energy, for me, this is a buy. And, you know, you don't have to go all in. You just enter 25%, 20%, 30%, and then you basically hope it goes lower, because then you buy a lot more here, and then you've got a great average. And this is something that long term for sure you'll be able to get higher. That's just my opinion. So, but anyway, you know, when you got natural gas down 10%, it's worth watching. Otherwise, gold, let's go back to the daily. So gold today did actually what I thought it would do. So actually, let me start with silver. Silver yesterday closed below this ascending support. For me, that's weak. It's also the weakest chart. Let's say it's a bearish chart when you've got a pennant like this, a rising wedge. It's so hard to keep the momentum going. So as soon as you break this, for me, in my experience, I've seen it so many times. You break this, it goes lower. Even if something that eventually is going to go higher, it's got great news, great catalyst, it just needs to take a break. So I don't know how strong silver will be or when it gets to its first support zone. I think this is the first support zone. I still think this is all correct. So I will touch this. So, you know, let me see, 22.5. Let's see how it bounces off there. If it gets there, of course, then 21. And then, I mean, we'll see about this, 20. By then it'll be 20. So, yeah, silver basically got weak the other day. Closed below the ascending, went lower today, really flashed lower at some point, and then, you know, left gold no chance but to go lower, which meant it tested its previous breakout, which acted as good support. So gold really technically perfect expectations. So we'll see. Let's see how the dollar going up impacts the metals. Today, at least, it did what it should have done. The dollar going up, metals went down. We also have the markets going down. How much do they affect gold and silver? What about interest rates going up? It should mean lower prices, which is good because I'm trading the gold and silver miners, which again today were relatively strong. Because when you have silver down 2% and you have the markets down 1.5%, you can expect GDXJ to be down 4 or 5%. Instead, it's just down 1, you know, basically 1. I mean, the average of these two is just, you know, the miners are down 1% today. That's less than the markets, I would say, because normally they're down more than the markets. If the SPY is down 1%, the miners will be down 2, maybe 2.5. Depends, of course, but I've seen those days regularly. And on top of that, if you've got gold and silver down, I mean, it's twice the pain. So very, very strong. Nice little hammer, closed at high of day roughly. So I mean, I don't know what to say. I've traded a little lower, I've sold a little lower. I did sell a little bit of Newmont today. It's something I wanted to do yesterday and didn't do, like an idiot. But basically didn't touch them. I mean, I did very little trimming. I'm really looking for a bigger move higher, which I don't think we're going to get, but we might get. I mean, if gold and silver just do a surprise bounce, the market bounces on news or whatever, you could really get some follow through on GDXs and you could sell even higher because you can tell they want to go higher. I just feel, or hope rather, which is not a good strategy, but I hope that with the markets going low, the dollar going higher, rates going higher, it just becomes too much for the miners. And they just say, okay, we acquiesce. Even though we want to go up, there's too much pressure from external forces, let's go lower. And then people like me are, we'll consider ourselves lucky enough to buy a bit of a dip, buy back what I sold. I think I might even buy back what I sold up here because it's very, very strong. Unless some crash is coming, which I really don't think we're far away from, and this starts to completely capitulate also, like we've seen. If you remember those days during the COVID times and even during this bear market, there were some periods where everything started to just tumble, and then you can see on your screen just everything flashes red, and you can tell it's indiscriminate liquidation, and then it doesn't matter. All these little relative outperformances of 2 or 3%, it's just minus 10% day. So, I mean, I'd actually love to see that day, even though I would take a hit that day. I have a bit too much on the sideline. So anyway, that'll do. Just a quick recap. The only other thing I'll say is Bitcoin world, nothing crazy in terms of Bitcoin price. It did hold its own, though. That's quite impressive. Outperforming the market there also. Also, we had the SI, what's it, Silvergate or something. That crypto firm that I think it reported massive withdrawals. Where is it? SI. I forgot what it stands for. Silvergate Capital. Huge flush down to pretty much all-time lows, down 40%, which also meant Coinbase and MicroStrategy got hit because they're similar sort of firms, whereas the crypto miners did not get hit in the same way. Mara a little bit, but that went up a lot. The other day, Riot kept on going, Bitfarm. So it's just a little something worth noting. I don't think the chaos is over in crypto and the aftermath and all that. So otherwise, ARK, another one, very weak. I'll just finish by looking at some of the big large caps. So these are some that I'm watching in no particular order. Intel is just because it's down the most. It's not my favorite stock. It was not that weak today, but I just feel like a stock like Google is easier to trade, and also probably is going to bounce a bit stronger than Intel. It's just one of the big FANG stocks, isn't it? So Google, look at that weak close, just like the Nasdaq. It takes one day to be at new lows, old lows, and that would just drag the Nasdaq down, which would drag the SPY down, which would drag the Russell and the Dow down, and et cetera, et cetera. We could really get some big moves soon, and to the downside. I still think it's more likely. Look at that Microsoft new lows of the area. Going to test the old local lows. That Microsoft is one I'm really looking. I feel like here you're going to get some strong support. So I might buy a little bit there, but I think it will give way. I think as soon as I buy it, it will just go lower. And that's actually the point, just to get some skin in the game. You pay attention to a stock when you've got money in it, even if it's very, very little, like 1/20th of the position you want. Just put a little bit in, you'll start watching it and you'll sort of get a feel for the stock also. I do think this is support though. But I think the Nasdaq and all the markets will go even lower. So then you quickly get to 200, psychological flush, back to the COVID highs, 190, etc. So Microsoft and Google, I think long term are not the worst stocks to own. They're not some Chinese or small cap that have problems with debt that go bankrupt, So not the worst stocks to own in a crashing market, some dividend seniors. Even though my specialty or where I like to focus is really resources, I do see the value in some of these at such critical moments. So anyway, I'm not going to spend too long on the large caps because I think the market's going down, so I'm not really interested in them. Although some of the really big boys that I want to build big positions in, I might start a small starter position, just like I've done, by the way, on Tesla and Amazon, basically where they are. Tesla I bought at 107, so still a bit lower than where it is, although it's, that one also is one day away from flushing. Amazon is actually below my buy. My buy was 85 something, but whatever, you zoom out, it's all the same area. So I've already started some small starter positions in some of these big boys that are down 50%, and I really look forward to a new flush, and that's what I think is coming. So I'll leave it there for now. Friday, big day, weekly day. So that weekly candle, the daily close, important, but also all of these news events. Let's see how the market digests it and then how the news media spin it. I still think we go lower. I'm just hoping that the metals and the miners follow the market because they are outperforming a bit too much, which doesn't suit my ambitions to rebuy. So anyway, otherwise, have a good evening.